Welcome, everybody. I'm going to act like I didn't forget to record this. So welcome, everybody. Like I said, there's quite a few. Oh, there he is. There's Mr. Tomasi. He showed up. Yay. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, all, how's it going?
Excellent. So,
Woo!
yeah, it's Brian, and Brian here. And this is Civil Chat. If you haven't been here before, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. And I'm glad to see we didn't scare you off. So we got that going for us, which is nice.
Is this show Civil 3B? Because there's 3 Brians. Sorry.
I gotcha. Civil 3 Brians.
All I know, Brian, is you're really bright today.
Thank you. I can fix that, but then the sun doesn't make me warm, so.
Yeah, so if you haven't been to Civil Chat before, this is just basically some people sitting around having a discussion, talking about Civil 3D and just about anything Autodesk civil engineering related. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to post them up in the chat, or actually do them in the Q&A. Let me go ahead and quit out of Teams here so I'm not getting pinged by coworkers. There we go. All right. So post them up in the Q&A. I didn't get my Q&A up. Let's throw you up over there. And it's this the show is driven by y'all. So if you ask questions, we will answer the questions, or at least talk about them if we don't have an answer for them. If you don't have questions, we'll talk about Chat GPT or balloons or whatever comes up. All right. So I always like to start off by doing a little something first, giving a little teaser, so to speak, on what we can do in Civil 3D. And this last month, I was helping somebody with some pipe network stuff, and I'm like, oh, you can't do that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I think you can do that now. So I'm going to show that off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so let me know if you can see it all right.
You are good.
Awesome.
I can see it.
So this is pipe networks. This is just the tutorial file that comes with Civil 3D. There's nothing special or unique about it other than the fact that the corridor surface is just absolutely horrible. So this is just kind of a side note. I'm going to go tangent here. If you ever want to have a good example of why you should never use the basic lane subassembly, so this particular corridor is using the basic lane subassembly, open up this drawing. If you go take a look at that surface, so I'll just go ahead and select it here. We'll go look at it in the 3D. It looks pretty good until you zoom in, and then it gets really, really bumpy. And all this crap is because of that basic lane subassembly. It sucks. You should never use it. Delete it from your tool palettes. Don't use the basic lane subassembly. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, pipe networks.
Isn't there a command to unregister commands? Can't you just do
It's
that
not a
globally
command.
for the company? Oh.
It shows up on your tool palette, and I you know what? I haven't taken off our tool palettes. I should do that. I totally should do that because I hate that thing. Anyways, so pipe network. So we've got pipes here, and as you can see, they're stepped down pretty severe. So here's the upstream one, and as you can see, it goes over and it drops straight down, goes over, it drops straight down. And I don't like this design. What I would rather do is I'd rather have more of a constant slope with a 2/10 drop through each structure or something like that. And in the past, this is not something we could do. You'd have to go through and manually adjust everything. And the way I used to teach people how to do this, so let's say I wanted to hold this downstream elevation and I wanted to just go up at a constant slope with 2/10 drop. So I would say, okay, you would go into the pipe properties, right? And you would go change the slope, right? So I'd change that to say 0.5%. or whatever value you want. You can see it change there. And then you would go into this structure, which is weird because when I select the structure, it selects the pipe. No, it didn't select the pipe. It just never unselected the pipe, but it looked like you did, which was just annoying. So I'll go ahead and go into the structure properties here. And under the connections tab, I can see what's coming in, what's going out. So here's the one that's coming in. Let's see, I want the, oh gosh, which one is it? I think it's this one. And then I can manually change that elevation 642.748, and then I hit OK. Oh, good, I got the right one. And then I go change this slope, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just a pain in the ass and time consuming, and it's just ridiculous. This is the way pipe networks behaved for years and years and years. It was like the one thing I never understood why we didn't have in Civil 3D. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and undo this. Maybe. Come on, CAD. Don't you just love the little spinning circle? Come back to life, please. It's probably doing an autosave, knowing my luck.
Oh, but the autosaves over your guys' B drive is so quick.
Oh, this is local.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just saved on my C drive. Okay. Keep on doing that. There we go. All right, so I'm back to where I was. So we have this really cool tool now called Project Explorer. This used to be available for people that were on subscription. I believe it's available for just anybody that has Civil 3D now. All right, so you don't need to be on the subscription or the collection or anything. It's just part of Civil 3D. On the Home tab up here on the top, right up there near your tool space, you can go into Project Explorer. Project Explorer is cool. Say that?
You do have to have it installed, and it does take an extra token. So if you are on a subscription plan, it will take an extra token. Like Civil 3D, I believe, takes 6 tokens. This one takes 1.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's they're adding on modules that you got to pay for. It's kind of like vehicle tracking.
It's kind of like heated seats in Mercedes.
It's kind of like the tutu skin in Fortnite.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So this gives you access. This is basically like a really beefed up version of your prospector over here. All right, you've got your alignments, you got assemblies, corridors, points, surfaces, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of these is pipe networks. And you can come down here to your structures and you can change all sorts of things, come over to your pipes, same thing. But what this cool feature is we've got this concept known as a pipe run, right? So you can see my current pipe run is starting at structure 1 and ending at structure 12. My structure 12 is actually that's not what I want. I actually want to stop at structure 11. And so you can see we get this nice run of pipes through here. And once you've set up the pipes up here, you can then come up here and edit the pipe run. So I choose edit pipe run and I get this heavenly thing here. Oh, this is awesome, right? So control parameters, you can hold the pipe run start elevation or hold the pipe run end elevation. So in this case, my controlling elevation is down here. So I'm going to hold the pipe run end elevation. My starting elevation for the pipe run, 647, that should be the this elevation up here. Set the and hold parameters. So I'm going to do this based off of the crown, the invert, center line. It doesn't matter in this case. They're all the same size pipe, right? My pipe run elevation, my pipe run slope, all of these values. And then once you get this data set, you just hit OK.
Whoa. So you mean to tell me you don't have any drops in your pipes over 45 degrees? You're lucky. You must be in Colorado. So where do you put the pipe drops in? Not to pick this thing apart, but that's my job.
All right.
Is that the pipe elevation offset at structure? Minus
Yes.
0.2?
Is that not in here?
Yeah, it's right below. Well, I don't know if
There
it
it
says
is.
pipe elevation offset. It doesn't say drop, but that's
that's
just
the pipe elevation offset at structures. So that, I should have put the 0.2 in there. So that gives me 0.2 of a drop through the structure. And did I do that backwards? I did that backwards.
So it doesn't take negatives.
So apparently you need to put in the negatives. Like I said, this is not something I've done a whole lot of, obviously. So we'll put in well, it makes sense. You're dropping 0.2, so we'll drop 0.2. And there we go. There's your 0.2 of a drop.
Not that I've ever used this before.
There we go.
It's honestly, in my personal opinion, this thing pays for it the first time you use it.
Yeah.
It is a very advanced tool space, but you can't do this with Prospector. You can't do what you just did with Prospector.
Right.
You can also change on pressure pipes. You can change the entire network diameter at one shot with pressure pipes. It is really nice.
Gary says pipe network tools from Red Transit is awesome for pipe networks as well.
Yeah, yeah. Steve Hill with Red Transit, he does an awesome job with that stuff. It's definitely a great add-on if you're going to be doing a lot of work with pipe networks. Before we had Project Explorer, I always told everybody, if this is something you have to do, go to Red Transit. They've got tools that'll do that. I believe the Sync Pack also has tools that'll do it as well. But if you just want to run straight out of the box without paying any extra money, unless you're on tokens, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a cost for those that have like individual license that are not on a subscription.
It's not. So if you just have if you're not doing the token stuff, it just comes with Civil 3D now. It's part of our license.
Because when we install the Civil 3D here and you click on Project Explorer, it says it's not installed yet. And that was from the installation that came off of our Autodesk app.
Yeah,
So
I believe that is something you have to add on.
Okay.
So if you go create a deployment,
I'll double check on that to make sure.
let's see. Oh, wrong one. Hey, look, it's me.
Huh.
Let's get
Point
the
authentication.
Duo up and running here. And then when you go to the products and services, I think there's a check you have to toggle on when you do this, if I remember correctly. There you go.
So I tweeted the other day, I was in here and I went to the product updates and mine went back to version 1 was an option for filtering for every product. I could filter back to version 1 AutoCAD and version 1 Revit. I was like, sweet, nothing
Nice.
showed up.
So yeah, you have to make sure to toggle these options on if you want to get them installed when you do it from your manage. So make sure you do that. But yeah, so that's kind of what I had come up this week. Hopefully somebody didn't know about that. Now you do, and you're super excited and you're like, this was totally worth it. I'm going to tell all my friends and family about Civil Chat, and we're going to get lots more people here. We actually got a turnout today, which is amazing considering there's only one question.
So I'll have a question while we're waiting for more questions to come in.
All right.
And I'll have a question too.
I opened up a file in Civil 3D and it actually had live map turned on where it was constantly downloading. What exactly is that? I mean, I just said don't turn it on and then realized, by the way, that completely screws up Revit because it takes a little rectangle and draws it in at the 0, 0 point of your Civil 3D file, but you can't see it inside of Civil 3 or inside of AutoCAD.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
live map,
so
that's just basically the Bing imagery.
0, 0. And the only way I found it is in Revit. I could query the rectangle and it said, oh, it's the map image. And I'm like, oh, okay. If I go back to AutoCAD, I'm like, there's no effing map image here. So I just started typing in map and I'm like, oh, look at this. There's an image thing in here.
All right. Okay, so if your drawing is geo-referenced, it's a lot easier. This drawing doesn't happen to be geo-referenced. This is my house, or it's a rectangle that represents a house. And I want to see the aerial imagery of my house in here. So like I said, if your drawing is geo-referenced, all you have to do is just turn on the map and you'll see the aerial imagery or the streets. It's Microsoft Bing. But if you don't have it, you just come up here to the Insert tab up on the ribbon and you will set a location. And I'm going to set the location from a map. All right, and this little thing pops up. You have to be signed in. So if you're like on a network license and you're not signed in, you have to have an Autodesk account to do this. So let's see, let's look at Loveland, Colorado. And oh, look, there's my house. That's not really my house. I'm going to pretend that's my house. I don't want people to actually know where I live. And then you just right click on something in the image that you can reference in your drawing. So I'm going to go to that location there. I just right click and I drop the marker there. That basically is saying, hey, this is the location in the image that I want to correlate to the location of my drawing. I'll choose next. It's going to say, hey, what coordinate system do you want to use? It really doesn't matter because it's not really a coordinate system because you're not, anyways, but it's going to require a coordinate system. Eventually, there we go. So I usually just do the 83 feet, whatever the nat 83 foot option is. That's the one I typically will go for. And then I specify where that is in my drawing and then which direction north is. So I'm just going to make north go straight up and it brings the imagery in. There it is, brings the imagery in. And this is live imagery. So if I zoom out, it reloads and people sometimes are like, oh, that's too much bandwidth. I don't want to do that, right? So you can then capture the area. So now that I have my drawing is geolocated, I can go to the geolocation tab. I don't know if everybody saw me do my air quotes, but I did that on geolocation. And then you capture an area. So I want to capture this area here because that's what I want to use for my vicinity map. And then once you've done that, you can then turn the map back off. So over here next to capture area, the different options, you can turn on the road map. You can turn on a hybrid. When I do aerials, I typically like to do, actually, yeah, let me do that. Let me get rid of that. I like to do the hybrid because it gives the names of the streets as well as the aerial imagery. And so this is the one I typically like to do. So we'll go ahead and capture this area. Take that whole block. And then once I've done that, you can turn the map off. And now that this is just an object in your drawing, this is not an XREF, this is saved in the drawing. If you want the imagery to plot, you have to capture it. But now I don't think now that this image is in here, you're good to go. If you adjust the frame, you can see it will reload, but it doesn't constantly reload. It has to have something trigger it to reload. So if you're in a really old drawing and you've got this image in here and you know that the imagery is updated, right? Don't do anything to your image frame. Don't resize it or anything because it's going to reload it and you'll get the latest imagery. But that's the basics of it. You can come up here, you can change the level of detail. So if I zoom in here, you can see it's kind of coarse, but if I change this to very fine, it's not quite as coarse. It's Loveland. You're not expecting high density imagery here.
Yeah, and for all of you out there, this completely jacks up Revit. So turn that crap off before you save a file for the architects.
Or turn it on if you don't like the architect.
There you go. That too. That's good. We got some good thing. We got questions while you were showing that. So
awesome.
We'll start with Joel's question. Do you have tips for inserting an aerial image that also needs a coordinate transformation, i.e. UTM to state plane?
That's a great question. So depends upon the image. So if the image is a geo-referenced image, so for example, like a GeoTIFF or a JPEG, I think JPEG 2000 have coordinate system embedded into it. If you simply do the XREF from AutoCAD, it just inserts it. There's 4 ways that I can think of to bring an image into CAD, at least off the top of my head. And that number might change as I go through this list. You can use the AutoCAD XREF. All right, so if I go XREF, come on. Why are you so slow today, CAD? Come on. Bring up my XREF manager, please. Anyways, so you can XREF it in just like you can with another drawing, a PDF, a DGN, et cetera, et cetera. An image is one of the options. You can use the map image insert, which I would show you if my drawing decided to come back to life. I don't even know where my mouse is. There it is. Wow, this is lovely. Thanks, CAD. So you can use the map image insert. So if you like to type commands, oh, there we go. So yeah, you can see that just image is one of the options for your XREF. This does not do any geolocation at all. It just inserts it and it says, hey, where do you want to put this image? What scale do you want it? What rotation do you want it? Right? No geo-referencing at all. There's map I insert. There's 2 I's there. So it's map image insert. All right. This one allows you to select an image. And once you've done that, you can then see coordinate systems and whatnot. So it will geo-reference it for you. You can go through FDO, which is featured data objects, which is the map task pane. All right, so I just tap map task. No, it's a map W space, map workspace. That's what it is. And then I go ahead and turn that on. And you can see I get a new lovely palette over here. So when you connect to the data, this is like if you're going to connect to a shapefile, those types of things. You connect to the data. And in here, there is a raster or raster image or surface connection. And then you can just browse to the file here. This will also do a coordinate transformation. So that's 3 different ways. The fourth way, and the one that I've had the most luck with, is raster design. So if you have raster design installed, you can then insert an image using raster design, and it will do that coordinate transformation as well. I just recently was working with somebody here at GEI, and they were like, Brian, this image isn't coming in correctly. I tried all the different methods to bring it to come in correctly. I finally resorted to trying raster design, and it was the one that worked. So those are the different options you have for bringing images into a drawing that need to be geo-referenced. Well, the first one's not geo-referenced, but the other 3 are. So hopefully that answers your question, Joel. If you had something more specific, let me know, and we can discuss it a little bit more specifically. But those are the options that we have. Do you know of any others, Brian? I know there's the OLE thing, but I never do use OLEs.
So my ears keyed on. Was the question including like Google Earth or something like that? Maybe an image that doesn't have any geolocation information along with it.
It didn't say. It's just an aerial image that also needs a coordinate transformation, i.e., UTM to state plane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean.
So I'm assuming that it has some coordinate system information in it.
Okay, yeah. Then the first method is the one I typically use. Is I'll actually do a map I insert, so that way it grabs the geo information of the JPW for the JPEGs.
The world file.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that way it grabs it. Otherwise, what I'll do is now I set my geolocation a little differently than what you did. I'll actually right click on drawing 2 on the prospector and set my coordinate system.
Right. Yeah. So the example I was showing is the drawing was not in a known coordinate system.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And then what I'll do is I'll take a snippet from Google World or Google Earth, save it at high resolution, bring it in, choose 2 points for as far away as I can that are both on both images, draw a line, rotate, scale, and then put it in that fashion. So that way you
just use the align command.
Yep, I use the align command, and and the 2 items that I pick are generally like most if you can find like striping, anything that's on the ground, it's got to be on the ground. You don't want to do like a chimney piece or something like that, because some of that imagery is skewed because of the way the angle of the picture has been taken. So anything that's on the ground that doesn't cast a shadow is probably a pretty solid bet.
And that's in your drawing, because that's kind of important too.
Pardon? And
in your drawing.
Yes.
So I use like a corner of a concrete pad is one that I use often as well.
Yeah, but for once, those electrical pads are useful. Oh, sorry, snap.
Okay. Next question is, do you know how to use ArcGIS connector so that it connects to a local database instead of an online server?
My understanding is that ArcGIS connector, I don't even remember where it is in here. Is it on the insert tab? The Autodesk connector for ArcGIS, I'm assuming this is what you're referring to, Beverly, only works with ArcGIS Online. It won't connect to a local database. So you would have to publish your local database up to ArcGIS Online, and then you can use the Autodesk connector for ArcGIS to connect to it. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding.
David agrees with you.
Yeah. So if you need to connect to something that's local, then you would go through your task pane and then click on data, connect to data, and then you get all these different options here.
Everybody agrees with you on the ArcGIS Online. David clarifies you also have to have Arc Online credentials. And Thomas was saying, yeah, click the data barrel. Never mind, you got it.
Right.
All right, so the next question comes from Sean.
All right.
This is the question: Civil 3D pipe network. How can you leave the texts associated with the parts on plan view, but freeze the pipes and fittings on the plan view? The texts are direct correlation with the parts. If you turn the parts off, the text will be turned off as well.
No plot layer. Create a style with no plots. And yes, I've had the same problem. But yeah, we'll put our styles such that they're on like a first off, our styles are preset so they go on a unique layer that can be turned to no plot. And when you turn them to no plot, you can do the labels, and it'll point to, if you have 2D line work, that's what it would be pointing to. It would look like it.
Yeah, and this isn't just a pipe network thing. This is just a Civil 3D thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got this alignment here. As you can see, this alignment is on the layer C-road, whereas this label is on the layer C-road-assembly. So if I take this layer C-road and I freeze this layer, you can see that layer no longer displays. You know, that one right there. Well, as soon as I do a regen, it goes away.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a pipe network thing. It's, if you're labeling something and that thing is frozen, then there's nothing to label, I suppose.
Yeah, and it works the same way with an XREF as well. If you're labeling like your surface and you freeze your surface, even though the XREF's still there, all the labels that are associated to that surface go away too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you freeze an object, the labels won't display along with it. And so you have to either create a, like Brian said, a style that doesn't display. So let me go ahead and undo this. All right, so I don't want to see this, so I can go edit the style, and you shouldn't edit the style. You should be creating a new style, but I'm just going to do this here. All right, and you can just turn everything off. All right, and now you don't see the alignment, but it's still there. And when I do a regen, I still have my labels. So it's, the object needs to be thawed in order for it to be labeled.
Or no plot layer, so you can still see it to know what the heck you're tagging.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Anonymouse asks the question: is there a way Revit users can export to AutoCAD without all the double line work on top of each other? I have a feeling I'm going to have to field this one.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what he's talking about, the double line work, or they're talking about.
I should say that too. I don't know what you're talking about, Anonymous.
Okay,
are
well,
you
that was me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
hey, wait, I have a question. How do you even ask a question? Because as a host, you can't ask questions.
I can't. Oh, sorry.
No, I meant physically. I can't go in and type a question.
I've got down at the bottom, I've got chat, raise hand, and Q&A, and I clicked on Q&A and it allowed me to do it.
Yeah, it must be
Well,
because,
that's because he's still a participant that we just allowed to speak.
Got it.
He's not an official.
I'm like, how the heck did he even do that? So okay, no, I was just upset because I want to type my questions in sometimes, and it's like, yeah, I can't even type a question in as the person presenting.
Well, oftentimes more than not, whenever you're cutting a section, you've got the layer, then you've got the above and below. And when you export that piece out, it will also grab all the line work that's above and below. So if there was line work on top of line work, which happens a lot of the times when you're using, a vertical product, it brings all that line work in, especially if you get like a really great three-dimensional part from a vendor that they've done it down to the the bolts and such. It starts just really inundating CAD with thousands upon thousands of lines that are on top of each other. And I didn't know if there was an easy, quick way, because you were talking about how to get something out of CAD for Revit, and I was wondering if there was like a two handshake thing there with that.
Well, one of the things for me is in Revit, I always go in and set up specific views for exporting, because you guys don't care about the casework. You guys don't care about my plumbing fixtures. You guys don't care about the toilet accessories. So I pretty much go in, and if I'm doing a building footprint, I might even only have the exterior walls turned on. And I
do care about the threads on the screw that's attaching the door hinge to the wall.
Damn straight.
Exactly. Right. So that's kind of one of the things for me. When you're in Revit, it's going to export out whatever you see. There's no freeze, there's no thaw. If it's on the screen, it's going to export it. So that's one of those things where I always try to tell people you need to go in and set up a view specific. So for me in Revit, I have an entire category called my Z exports category, and I will set up whatever I need for whoever needs it to be able to export it out. And like I said, a lot of times for civil guys, I turn off all the interior walls. You don't care about interior walls. You only care about maybe where's there a core and the exterior walls.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's
part of-
me.
well, part of the reason for the question is for all the other civil people out there, if we know the lingo of what we can ask the Revit users to give us, that would be kind of, you know, in a way helpful. And I figured I'd seize this opportunity with you, Brian, because I know you're a pretty hardcore Revit guy.
Yeah, no, and I always say it's the exact same way too on that, because it's one of those things that like I didn't know that was ever a problem. Granted, I'm not the average Revit user. You know, I like to think about other people, not just screw it, I'm giving you some export because you told me to. So I like to try to set those things up. So knowing that that can happen to you, I'll have to start going into looking at some of my AutoCAD exports. The big thing I always tell people too, and this also depends obviously on the firms and teams you're working with, I always set up every single project to match civil coordinates. Period. I don't care if I've literally done an 8x10 guard shack that I match the civil coordinates on, because in my mind, it just makes life easy for everyone. So I always set that up, and I always make sure that I have an export setting and say, hey, export out to those shared coordinates in Revit, your guys's coordinate system you're using. So therefore, when I give it to you, it's in feet. You don't have to scale it. It's rotated properly. Hell, it's even at the proper elevation, which might screw you if even at a 2D view, I'm not sure. But I make sure I go through and do all of that. So when I give it to you guys, boom, you just put it in place.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But again, you know, that's not something most people struggle in Revit with the shared coordinates, but knowing that there might be lines on top of each other, I'll have to go in and look at some of my exports and then run an overkill and see how terrible it is.
Yeah, because that's what sometimes we'll do is we'll have to run that. Unfortunately, a couple of times and explode a couple of things too. So I didn't know if there was just an easy way. So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, and especially you said like vendor stuff and things like that too. I rarely download vendor stuff and use it in Revit because, like you said, so often there's just so much crap in there. I don't need, like, for me, systems furniture, the best one, granted I'm architectural here, but like all the cubicle furniture from Steelcase, they model the plates and bolts and screws and everything. And I'm sure they use it internally for shipping purposes. I do not need that as a designer. I don't need the plates. And ironically, they make them specialty equipment. You can't even cut through it. So all the plates they put in, I will never, ever see it in Revit. It just won't see it. So what the hell? So yeah, that's kind of more one of those ones you need to go in and really check that out as you get into it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Cool. Oh, and John agrees with you. Yeah. Only get what you need. Most vendors get your data, not online vendors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they'll actually detail out the screen on top of the fan, and I don't need that.
No.
It looks pretty though.
Well, the problem you run into is we're all getting into these digital twins, right? And that's the new catchphrase. And everybody's like, oh, we've got to get into an LOD 450 on our buildings, etc. And I laugh because I look at you guys in civil. It's like, yeah, could you imagine modeling like the manhole with the flange for the manhole lid and the manhole lid with the diamond plate on the manhole lid and a little hole for the thing to lift the manhole? I just look at all that stuff and it's like, no one needs an LOD 450 or 500. That's stupid. No one needs it in a modeling world.
They're lucky they get a visual discrepancy between concentric and eccentric manhole.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
Seriously.
So, but to me, what you guys have in Civil 3D is where we should be in most of the things. It's level of information, not level of detail or development.
Yeah.
Right. We need the information. God dang it. Give me a 2D symbol that represents the manhole, but that information will say, hey, it's eccentric, not all the things you guys do in civil.
Yeah.
And it should theoretically be the same thing as well in the building side of things, but people just don't think that. Like I've gone downloaded stuff where literally there's screws for the switch plate on a goddamn outlet.
Yeah.
Do I really need that? No. So yeah, to me, it's all about, and if I had those, I would make sure when I was exporting those out for anybody else, that stuff's all turned off. You don't care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always like to remind people that, you know, when we're working in the civil world, you don't need that level of detail for sure, because we're building with bulldozers.
Yeah. You're
Right.
kicking 0.1 feet, 0.01 feet around. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that's discrepant, 0.01 foot, that's an eighth of an inch. Civil doesn't even, that doesn't even enter our library.
Yeah. Yeah, we're building with bulldozers and sometimes with dynamite.
Yeah,
So.
but
That's a fun
see,
project.
and this is where I go, because for me, I was on the fabrication side of things. So I had computerized equipment that I could be accurate to the 1,000th of an inch.
Yeah.
So I model that way in Revit. And everybody says I'm stupid because they're not going to build it that accurate on site. It's like, yes, but compounding errors can add up. So I'd rather make sure I'm accurate as I can be. I go out 10 decimal places in Revit when I dimension. If I'm not seeing all zeros there, then I've modeled it wrong and I fix it. Because I'd rather have it correct there and then let somebody else screw it on the site, but there's nothing on me.
So when you're modeling, you take it out that many dimensions or that
Yeah.
many units, not necessarily
Yeah.
when you're documenting.
Both. When I model, the model is the documentation. If I don't have 10 decimals, you don't see it. But if I screw something up and you see that, then hey, gee, I needed to go fix my model so my documentation is correct.
Gotcha.
And it's funny. I say that and a lot of people are like, oh, you're just crazy. About 50% of my clients do that now because they've been screwed on projects where, you know, they do some of these giant projects and, you know, you get that, you know, 0.004, you get 50 of those in a row, all of a sudden you're off by an inch. You know, it's like, or half of an inch, and you start getting lawsuits because, oh, gee, you told me that this needed to be this big. We fabricated that big and you're off by 4 inches. That's a $600,000 change order because you screwed it up. Yeah, Thomas, yeah, it's like 4 decimal places.
Yeah. Latin long with 4 decimal places. Woohoo.
All right.
So here's
another
a fun one.
question.
Speaking of GPS coordinates, what is the unit of length in a lat long coordinate system?
It's google.com.
Because if you think about it, you know, Latin long, what's the distance between 2 lines of longitude?
They're
It
different
varies.
because it's a pie
Vary.
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a, it's actually a smile shape, right? Because it goes from one end of the globe to the other.
Right.
So it's the unit of length in a lat long coordinate system is the arcsecond.
Yep.
So
now is that
or
second
Joel
to the
says
2 decimal
degrees. Yeah,
places?
that's yeah.
How many decimal
basically the
places
same
is that
thing.
second, huh?
So I always thought that one was fun.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll jump into Gary's question.
Okay.
We use pressure pipe networks and have just started using the pipe run option. Basically, you have to create a WL alignment and
Probably
profile
waterline.
for your waterline.
Yeah.
Sure. For your design, and then bring the pipes into your civil profiles. This has caused my drawings to run so slow. Do you think I should just have a separate drawing for waterline design? Currently, all of my civil is in one drawing. This is a 400-acre subdivision, by the way. I'm still so disappointed with pipe networks, pipe constantly disappearing in profiles and breaks and pipe runs. It's terrible.
Yeah. You don't want to put everything in the same drawing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. You'll be met with unfortunate, just what you're going through.
Yeah. 400-acre subdivision with everything in one drawing is it's
Yeah.
making me just kind of start to sweat a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing something like that, first off, we probably divide the 400 acres into phases and then divide those utilities based upon the utility type, sand, storm, and water. And those would be on their own drawings per their phase. And then just deal with the hookups. 400 and some odd acres, that's
a
Woo.
big project.
Yeah, and just remember,
I'm jealous.
every time you pull a data reference from that, it has to open that drawing to verify that data reference, and then it closes the drawing, and then if there's another data reference that's got to go to it, it'll reopen the drawing. That's why it's taking so long to open, because if you have a drawing that is data referencing 5 items from that one drawing, it is opening and closing that thing 5 times. 5 times.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, you've got existing surface in there and proposed surface in there. Oh my God, that thing's got to be a couple hundred meg.
If not a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
If you got like a LiDAR data surface in there.
Oh, geez. Oh,
yeah.
oh dude, the hair, my hair just stood up on my arms.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to breaking things up into multiple drawings, the philosophy I take is you should only put into a drawing what you need to create that drawing. Right. So at the end of the day, I'm creating a plan and profile sheet. Right. I only have in this drawing what is necessary to create this sheet. within reason, right? I'm not going to put every layer on it in its own drawing, but within reason. You know, I'm doing a horizontal control plane. I need to see the existing site features. I need to see the proposed site features. I don't need to see any Civil 3D surfaces for this. I don't need to see the existing ground. I don't need to see the proposed ground. If my existing ground surface is in the same drawing as the existing condition site line work, when I XREF that line work into my drawing, I'm also XREFing in that surface. And that surface is not needed for my horizontal control sheets. And so your surface, your existing surface should be in a separate drawing than your existing line work.
Yep.
That way you can bring in just what you need.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And also, if you can, make that existing line work all just 2D, not 3D.
Mhm.
That is exceptionally helpful as well.
Yeah. So I like to classify my drawings as one of 3 different types of drawings. And it seems like every time I talk about it, the names change. But the concept is you'll have a drawing that is your AutoCAD line work. So your existing condition stuff, your proposed condition stuff. This is the stuff that can't be data referenced. Your parcels, if you're using Civil 3D parcels, that would also fall into this because you can't data reference a parcel. So
Yep.
you have the stuff that you XREF around, right? And so that's kind of like the line work drawing. So you would XREF that into other drawings. And then you have the drawings where you can data reference stuff out of. And those are the model drawings. And so you would take your line work drawings and XREF them into your model drawings to create your models. Now, your model drawings really don't get XREF'd anywhere. They're data referenced out, right? And so you XREF back and forth between your line work drawings, you data reference back and forth between your model drawings, you XREF into your model drawings, and then you have the production drawings, all right? These are the ones that you plot. These are your sheets. And you XREF in the line work from your XREF drawings, you data reference your data in from the model drawings, and you create the sheet. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule because every once in a while it makes sense to XREF in a Civil 3D object that you can data reference. For example, the existing ground surface, right? So the survey surface. I like to XREF that into my final production sheets because if you just data reference it in, you don't get labels. You can label it through the XREF, but that means in every sheet, you now have to go label that surface. Whereas if you XREF it in, you'll see the labels with it. So there are exceptions to the rules, but that's kind of the mentality I like to think of when I'm setting up my drawings for that.
Right.
What should go into a single drawing? Well, again, a lot of it depends upon the project and how many people are working on the project, right?
Yep.
400 acres, I assume you're not the only person working on it. So you want to break it up into multiple drawings so multiple people can work on it. And the kind of the way I like to do it is based off of, so back in the day when Civil 3D first came out, Autodesk was like 1 object per drawing. So your alignment goes in 1 drawing. If you have 50 alignments in this project, they all go in separate drawings. I found that just to be ridiculous. So I like to take like my roadway design and I'll put those alignments and those profiles into a drawing to create my corridor. And then I will data reference those out as needed. So my plan production drawing, I will data reference in the necessary alignments and profiles and leave all the other junk behind. Utilities. My storm sewer would be in 1 drawing. My sanitary would be in a different drawing. My water would be in a completely different drawing. If I need to see those pipes, the storm sewer pipes in my water line drawing, I will data reference those in.
Somebody just asked if there was a documentation to this methodology.
I don't know. Listen to me talk sometime.
You
Brian,
take
all
the
the
recording
time.
that you take the recording that Brian's going to post on YouTube. You put transcription on, and
There
you
you
take
go.
what that says, or you load this into Chat GPT and ask the same question and see what it spits out.
I do have it documented. Brian, I went ahead and sent it to you. If you want to disperse it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So John mentioned the best practices guide. So if you come up here
Yeah.
to, do we have the help? Where's my help?
Yeah,
There's help. It was right underneath my mouse. I think there's the best practices guide up here somewhere in there. Am I just blind and not seeing it? Let's just go to help.
I mean, and within my company, we work with individuals that don't have Civil 3D. So we got AutoCAD users, Civil 3D users, Plant 3D users. And so to enable them to be able to XREF in or to bring in the surfaces and the contours and data like that, they don't have the ability to data reference. So we'll create like you were talking, you've got your data files, and then you've got your model files that are used to be brought into the sheet. So what we'll do is we will use we'll create a model file that is just the data reference of just the surface. Now, that does a couple of things. First off, it creates a barrier between having to always synchronize, but that can be a problem as well. But it creates a barrier, so it's not always having to go back and synchronize. And it's not opening up the main file that could be several hundred megs. And you'll find that that drawing that has the data reference of just your surface in it, displayed the way you want it displayed, and then you can label all the contours, that can be XREF'd into any basic AutoCAD drawing. And on top of that, it's much, much smaller than the file it came from.
Yeah. So here's the best practices manager on project management. You can see it's a little dated. It's still referencing Vault.
Oh my God.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at Vault.
That's all right. But this is here. It's good. There are some things that are in here that I completely 100% disagree with. But yeah, it's here. So for example, if it's still that way, if you go to surface data, working with contour data, minimize flat areas, it says to leave the swapping edges turned off. I 100% wholeheartedly disagree with this.
Yeah.
I have never seen a situation where not swapping edges creates a better surface than swapping edges.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
you're
right.
minimizing flat areas. So
100%.
just turn it on. I'll turn all four
Yeah.
of those on. In fact, what you should do is you go into your drawing settings, into your feature settings, and have this be the default.
Yep.
That's my personal opinion.
All righty. So another question from Anonymous. It says construction notes. Does anyone have an easy method for making a master list for multiple sheets to use?
I'm not sure I know what the question is.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it was a little weird.
Oh,
So
it's you again? Okay.
yeah, I'm anonymous.
Okay, I
gotcha. We're always battling with this construction note thing where we would like to do it like it's in Revit. Sorry, Revit and their construction notes their keynotes are just awesome in the fact that you just have one document and then you can link that to it and pull from it. And I mean, I saw something, what is it called? Smart Draft Apps, but you can't customize it very well. So I didn't know if anybody else had any suggestions on, because, if you've got multiple sheets and you want only the detailed bubbles or the construction note bubbles that you have called out shown on that sheet, how do you do that? Yeah, somebody just put Smart Draft in there, and I tried Smart Draft. For those of you that haven't tried Smart Draft, you can't really customize the bubbles. Like we use Arial font, and in there I tried resetting the Arial font, and it only lets you customize it with SHX files, and Arial is not an SHX. But
So Smart Draft is an AutoCAD tool?
It's from the AutoCAD apps store. It cost $125.
I posted a link in the chat.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, that's one of the big things now, Brian, and it's really funny, is in Revit 23, every schedule now can only show what's on the sheet. So I can create schedules for anything. If I place it on that same schedule on 30 different sheets, it's only going to schedule what's visible on the sheet.
Ooh,
so similar to what you had with keynotes, it's now in every schedule in Revit. It's a huge improvement. Yeah. So I have one door schedule, I put in my door schedule sheet, but I can drop that down on every single floor plan and just show you what doors are in that one view.
Well, that's great. Now make that happen for AutoCAD and Civil 3D, and then we'll be happy.
You know, you know what I'm gonna say there, Brian. Autodesk ideas.
Yeah. You know, when I talk with Autodesk, they say, you know, AutoCAD's like a train. You just can't make it stop and change directions very well. And I'm like, well, stop. Develop it differently. Make it light rail. I don't know. I just wanted to, yeah, because this. Yeah, Dynamo, we've tried a Dynamo method as well. But getting it to link into like the detail bubbles and such. And so not just, okay, so maybe I need to up the ante a little bit. I also want it to create the table or the keynote on the drawing itself of just what's being shown on that drawing, linked to, I don't know, a Word document, Excel document, or just an ASCII text format. That's what I'm looking for, but construction note Lisp.
Max says he has a Lisp routine that does it well, and construction knows Lisp.
Ooh.
So I think you need to be sending an email over to Max.
Sounds like I need to be talking to Max. All right.
All right, and Sean asked if we would cover the example to answer his question. I think, Sean, you must have stepped away because that was one of the first questions we answered at the beginning of this, is how to show the labels. I'm assuming you say text, but I'm assuming you meant labels with the Civil 3D parts. We did cover that at the beginning, so it will be in the recording. And then one last question we have, since we have 6 minutes, is one of my users ran into an issue where a pipe network that is derefed into a sheet drawing was not synchronizing pipe data such as flow and velocity. We have a label that pulls that info and the numbers were outdated. Tried using the balloon notification for synchronization and also tried forcing a sync through Toolspace. Ran an audit and tried closing out and opening file again. No luck. Civil 3D 23.2.1. Any ideas?
Is flow and velocity a property that we have now? We have flow direction. I don't think that's a standard pipe property, so that might be an expression that you're using. I'm just guessing here.
Well, I think flow and stuff is written into each one of the pipes.
Okay, yeah, there's flow rate.
Yeah.
And maybe it's coming from storm sewers or something like that. Let's go take a look at a label here. I hate it when I do that. So you would think when you select a label, you right click, you choose edit label style. Where'd that go? Edit label style. You choose the style and you hit OK. No.
Yeah.
That doesn't bring up the label style editor. You have to come over here to the right and click on edit current. It's so silly.
So I'm not laughing at you, Brian. I'm laughing with you because
I know. You can
all
laugh at me. That's
the
okay.
time. Oh my god.
Joel says pipe network sync mode.
Yeah, I don't think velocity is an option in here. So I'm guessing that's a.
All right.
So I'm guessing that's an expression. So maybe it has something to do with expressions. But pipe network sync mode, that's a new one I'm not familiar with. What is that? But it's not even listed here, is it? There we go. Not visible in section view. Network sync mode. That's just saying, hey, this. Oh, that's just forms. I don't know. So this one's new to me. I haven't played around with pipe network sync mode at all. I'll have to investigate that one.
Let me guess. Joel was the answer in that knowledge forum, and that's why he knew this one off the top of his head.
Could be. Hey, Joel, would you mind if we unmute you and you can tell us what this pipe network sync mode thing is all about? Because I'm not familiar with pipe network sync mode. If you don't want to, no big deal. Sure. Awesome. Joel.
There you go, Joel.
Oh, you already got him. Awesome.
All right, you guys hear me?
Yep, we gotcha.
They invented this new system variable to try to speed up the drawings. And essentially it means you have to make a change to the geometry of the pipe in order for it to know that it needs to sync. And so if you're changing things other than like the location or the inverts, then the drawing doesn't know that it needs to sync. And so that new system variable, you can essentially turn the behavior off back to the old school way where it just syncs all the time, no matter what.
Gotcha. So if you're changing things like the diameter, perhaps?
I think pipe sync mode has like 3 settings, and one of them's, you have to change location invert. There's a middle one where you can change something else in there, and then the third one is, if anything changes, always force a sync, and that's the old slow behavior.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice. Learn something new every day if you're not careful. Thanks, Joel.
You guys bet.
So yeah, it sounds like that very well could be the problem. If you're not making changes to the geometry and it's not getting synced, try changing pipe network sync mode.
Yeah, I honestly find that often in a lot of programs that they're trying to speed up, especially when you're talking visual programs, modeling programs, that the live updates all the time, we're slowing everything down, and Revit's notorious for this. Like, you can go change a whole bunch of things and the tag doesn't update, but you can move the tag and move it back, and the tag will be like, oh wait, no, I got to display the information from the object. So in the Revit world, it's not necessarily the elements. It sometimes can be the tag, but often it's also the element. So it's like literally I move something and move it back, and then the tags will pick up on that new data. And I think this is a common theme that they were starting to realize that half the reason programs are so slow is every time somebody changed one data, it's got to go update all these places that data is being displayed. And so like, hey, we'll just turn that off unless you request for it to be done.
Yeah. And Joel just put in the chat that he creates a null structure off to the side. And so if he needs to force the sync, he can play around with the null structure and not mess up with the network itself. And that will force it to sync. So that's a great tip, Joel. Thanks. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we had.
And
Right
all
there
the
at,
questions. And
12:30.
we're at the bottom of the hour. Look at that.
Wow, that was like perfect. It's almost like we planned it that way. Maybe someday we will. So thank you everybody for showing up. Appreciate it. Make sure you tell your friends, your family, everybody about us. We don't advertise, we don't pay anything. We're not getting paid for this. So it's just something we enjoy doing. Tell your friends, have them join us, and we'll see y'all next month. Take care, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Wait, who was I supposed to contact?
Max Bellato.
Let's see here.
Yeah, Max about his list routine to update whatever it was you guys were talking about.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Well, FYI, Haley, I'm good with you. I don't need you
Gotcha.
for Revit Radio.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
See y'all later.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.